Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm horticulturist Gary Bachman, and it's time for another Ask Me Anything. This is our Southern Gardening Facebook Live monthly event that we do where Southern Gardening Nation and beyond can send their horticulture, landscape, garden questions to me, and I'll do my best to answer them. And if I can't, I will get you the information. While we're waiting here for folks to join in, because I know it takes a little bit of time. I've got some things lined up here to talk about kind of how I garden, tools I use, and a pest that everybody here in the Southeast has. And some people may consider this a pest, but it's really not. I think it's cool. I think you will too. So let's go ahead and talk about tools just for a second. One of the best tools that a gardener can have is a good pair of pruners. These are a pair of Coronas. Let's see here. I think you can see what these are. I really like these for just an all-purpose pruner. They work very well. There's different sizes. This particular one, this is BP 6250. There's lots of them out there. Go to their Corona website. Fits my hand well, and it works very well. One of the tips I always give folks when you're looking at and using pruners, good bypass pruners, never the anvil kind that crush the stem, is you always want to have these blades sharp. And it's really an easy thing to do. And let me see if I can do this and hold this up right to the camera. We can go ahead and the gardener can sharpen these themselves using the Corona sharpener. And I've shown this on some of our Daily Dose videos in the past. I've shown it on our Southern Gardening TV videos for sure. But you take this sharpener and it's just, let's see here so you can kind of see. And it's just, you run it 3 or 4 times down the knife edge of the bypass pruners and 1 time on the backside, and that takes care of any burrs. But that keeps your pruners sharp, and you've always got to be careful when you're pruning that you don't, cut your fingers, so you're always watching. But a sharp tool is the most efficient tool that you can have in the garden, whether it's pruners or a shovel or a spade. I sharpen everything. It makes my life easier. One of the things I like about these Corona pruners is replacements. You can replace all of these components when that blade starts to wear out. It's like $15, and you replace it, and you've got a new set of pruners. So that's one tool that I like to use. There's another pruner that I like, and I get these from Dram. It's a little smaller pruner. I'm just going to show you the size difference here. When you look at this little Dram pruner and you look at the Corona pruner, little bit smaller. This one is nice. I like for just little touch-up jobs in the garden. And it's a nice bypass pruner. Dram Corporation makes these and sharpen them the same way. You can't replace the blades on this one like you can of the big one. But this one, I really don't wear this out. Just keep sharpening it. It's really great for pruning deadheading flowers and the like. So Dram, that's a nice little all-purpose pruner. Another tool that I've really come to enjoy. This one is called. Now get this. This is from my great friend Roxanne DePalma at QVC and Ultimate Innovations, but the dirty little digger. I mean, doesn't get any better than that. But I like this. It's got a great shape to it. It's got nice serrated edges that'll cut through roots. I really like this working in my containers. I'm a big container gardener. Everybody knows that. This works really great for digging in that professional potting mix, making holes, digging old plants out, getting ready for new ones. But Dirty Little Digger, Ultimate Innovations, Roxanne DePalma, QVC, check that out. I really like this. And we got some Oh, and Roxanne's on there. Oh my gosh, is that like must have planned that, Roxanne? Another tool that I really like, and this is kind of one of these tools that is kind of one of these horticultural, status symbol type tools. But this is called a hori hori, kind of a Japanese knife, garden knife, and this is from our friends at DeWitt over in Holland and the Netherlands, where they hand make these. These are high grade steel that keeps their edges, but I like this because I've got a nice sharp edge. I already said I like sharp tools, sharp edge on this side, got the serrated edge. I really like this for out there digging in that hard earth, shrubs that have to come up, and we have to get through those tough roots. This one really works really good. But DeWitt tools, check them out. They've got all kinds of different really quality, high grade steel tools that'll really last you a lifetime when you're in the garden. And last tool that I'm going to show here is, I don't know if anybody knows. I got to step back a little bit. If anybody knows what this is, if you do, put it in the comments, and I'll give you a thumbs up on it. But I'm going to tell everybody, this is actually a surplus tool from World War II. This is an aircraft crash axe. All of the bombers and things in World War II had these, so in case they crash, they could chop their way out of the aluminum airframes that they had. But I got this from a military surplus store. I love this. This weighs about 2 pounds, and it's got this nice curved edge that's great for chopping through roots. It also has the pick end on it that helps dig into hard ground. But this has been a fantastic all-purpose tool that I've actually repurposed for use in the garden. So that works out real well. And before we get started, and questions are coming in, and yes, Katie knows what that tool is. I mean, you'll get something special, Kate. A weed that everybody here in the Southeast is really just plagued with, and this is called chamber bitter, or it's called gripe weed. Some people call it a mimosa weed, and I pulled this out about 45 minutes ago, and the leaves have already folded up, so you can't see what the leaves look like. But on the underside of the leaves, see those little round structures? Those are the flowers and seed pods. And gripe weed, Kate just gave me the high sign there. The gripe weed will start setting seeds when they're about this tall. So whenever you see this plant, the best way to get rid of it is to pull it up as soon as you see it. We have it everywhere. You're going to miss some, but if you stay after it, you can control this a little bit. And I say a little bit. I work hard at it, and it's all over my landscape and garden. Then the last little tidbit I wanted to talk about was a critter that looks like this. Let's see here. I'm trying to get a way so you can see it. This is actually the caterpillar, or one of the immature caterpillars of the giant swallowtail, and we see it on our citrus that we grow here in the Southeast. It's one of their natural forage species. But I always show people, because I get questions on this all the time. What kind of caterpillar is that? That's got to be bad. Well, giant swallowtail. I like to show it because what does that look like sitting there on a leaf? It's a great camouflage, and some people will call it orange dog caterpillar. Most people that I know, and what I call it, is called bird crap caterpillar, because it does look like a bird dropping on the leaf. I'm going to try to And if Ellen will let me share, that was an immature. I'm gonna see if this will work. Hang on a second. Yeah, select screen. Let's do this. Okay. This I don't know. Let me know, Ellen, if that is actually there. There we go. That is what the mature caterpillar looks like, sitting there on a leaf. And what's really interesting about this caterpillar and about swallowtails in general, they don't make a chrysalis that is very recognizable like a monarch's is. Their chrysalis is camouflaged, and if you see this structure right here, that's the chrysalis of the black swallowtail. It just kind of looks like a piece of stem that's sitting there on the branch, and and predators will just walk right on by it because it just looks like a piece of branch. But that's just kind of a fascinating mimicry with the way the caterpillar looks and the camouflage of the chrysalis. And I'm going to keep an eye on this one. I've missed the last couple of the emergence, but maybe we'll see. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing now, and it's probably time to start answering some questions. Yeah, we've got a bunch of those, and so let's go ahead and start answering questions. Audrey, good morning. Roxanne, we've already said hi to you from Southern California. It's really interesting that Southern gardening is nationwide and worldwide. We have friends down in Australia and New Zealand that regularly, contact and interact with me on everything. So let's see here. So Nancy Taylor wants me to show that sharpener again. Okay. This is what the sharpener looks like. It's just a little straight tool. And out here on this end, it's a piece of tungsten carbide, which is a lot harder than the blades of the sharpener of the pruner itself. And so running the edge of this across that pruner blade takes a little bit of the blade off, sharpens that blade back up, 3 or 4 or 5 swipes, and you're good to go until you prune it up that you have to sharpen it again. But anyways, that's the Corona pruner sharpener. There's other models, there's other companies that make this, and they'll work just the same with that tungsten carbide insert that's out on the end of that. So hope you can do that. Yeah, I know, Roxanne. You have to promote some of those great products you have to make our gardening life easier. And Alicia, let's see here. Meg. Now, Meg, you want one of those? You want one of the pruners? You want one of the sharpeners or the dirty little digger? I mean, they're all fantastic. We have an anonymous Facebook user. Don't know who you are. You might want to let us know. And then, yeah, Roxanne is, the Crash Axe is a scary tool. And she's asking about the garden broom. Absolutely. The garden broom from Ultimate Innovations is fantastic. It's in the garage right now. I should have thought to bring that out, but I've been using that for a couple years. Does a great job of, if you want to call it sweeping up leaves and sweeping up things in the garden, neating up the garden. It really is a good tool. So Dean Palm. Hey, Dean. Hey, good morning. I hope you like the Southern Gardening All Year Long book. Really appreciate your interest in that. But Dean's question is, do daylilies need to be cut back? If so, when? North of Savannah. As far as cutting back daylilies, I might be tempted if you still got flowerscapes popping up, go ahead and prune those off unless they're setting seed and you want to collect seed of that. Generally, now in my garden, the daylilies I just go ahead and let them senesce naturally, let them build some more energy for for the root system. And really, then when they get just so I can't stand them anymore, and maybe that's the key. Let them go until they just make you crazy, and then go ahead and trim them back to tidy them up. I think that's the way to go. And Meg Mathis, the Hori Meg, yeah, go to DeWitt Tools. You can find them online, and you can see the Hori and all the other great tools, the great hand tools and long handle tools that they make. High quality steel, doesn't lose its edge. You really can't go wrong with some of these. Okay, let's see here. Where are we at? Roxanne, we have nutweed in Palm Springs. It's horrible. Hey, we have nutweed here too. Couple things you can do. You can look at. It's one of these things. I've had a little bit of a senior moment here, as far as the control, and the name is right there in front of me. I'll think about it. Another product though that you can use is called Sedgehammer. And Sedgehammer is a specific product that will take care of nutgrass, especially in cultivated plantings. You have to be careful if you use it out in the grass. There may be some activity in the grass, but generally not in most of our landscape plants. It is expensive. I will tell you that. So, the other product I was thinking about is Image. Go ahead and take a look at that. But I'll always read the label when we're trying to take care of some of these really tough grassy weeds. That's a tough category to take care of. We can take care of, of monocots, grass weeds, or dicots, broadleaf weeds. But when we get into these grass-like weeds, that's a tough one. But take a look at Image, take a look at Sedgehammer, and that may be a solution for you. Okay, so where did we go here? Okay, let's see. So Sharon's asking, when can I move lantana from a pot to the ground? If lantana is in a pot, Sharon, you can move it to the ground anytime. That's one of the beauties about growing or buying plants that are in containers, because that root system is contained. We can go ahead really not, and I say here now, a lot of my advice is we're zone 9A here in southern Mississippi, so we can basically plant 12 months out of the year. So you have to look at your winter temperatures and things. But container plants can be planted from container to the ground really anytime the ground is workable. It's a little bit more difficult when you're growing, if they're in the ground and you want to put it in a container, then you have to kind of wait till fall season, early spring season to do that. But if it's in a container now, put that lantana in the ground where you want it, be done with it, move on to the next project. Oh, and Dean, thanks. Really appreciate that. The book was a fun project. And while we're talking about the book, this is the book that we're talking about, Southern Gardening All Year Long. This was or is a project of Southern Gardening where we went ahead and looked at the more than 600 Southern Gardening columns that I've written over the past 12 years and picked out the best ones kind of by season, and updated information, updated cultivars, just to give people ideas. This is an idea book. This isn't a book of these are the plants you must grow to have a great garden. This was my thoughts on this was give people some inspiration, try new things in the garden. There's quite a few new books in here or new plants in here that a lot of people aren't familiar with. So let's see, and I think Ellen has put up the link if you want to order one from the publisher. You can send me a personal message if you'd like one to be autographed, and we can work out the details on that. So yeah, that's Southern Gardening at msstate.edu. We can make that happen there. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, so we're back to Facebook user. Really would like to know what your name is, but that's okay. Does all potting soil contain the waxy covering? The water runs right through it. Okay, here's the thing about potting mix. Most of our professional grade potting mix, they are shipped, they're bagged and shipped dry. And there's a simple economic reason for that is the heavier the bag, the more water there is in that bag, in that mix, the more costly it is to ship that product. So it's strictly economic. So professional potting mix is shipped dry. And because it's dry, just the nature of that peat moss base or that core, that coconut fiber base, is when it's dry, it's hydrophobic. So you can put it in a pot, you can water it, and it runs right out through the pot. And you think, what's going on? Well, you have to hydrate brand new mix slowly. You can use warm water and water with warm water, but if you got a plant in your pot, that could be an issue with the root system. What I like to do, and I'm gonna shift my camera here a little bit, and I like to use. Oops, hang on a second here. Got a little bit of more cord I can work with. I like to use a product. It's a professional growing mix, Jolly Gardener. You can use Pro Mix, Metro Mix, Sunshine, whatever professional mix you use. It'll come in a 2 cubic foot bag. This is a 2.8 cubic foot bag. But what I like to do when I first get that bag and I open it up, I like to pour a gallon of water. Just open the top of the bag up, gallon of water into the bag, and let it set for a day. And what that does, that allows that mix to slowly rehydrate. And by the next day, it's acting like a great growing mix, and the water doesn't run right through it when you've got it in a container. So I think that's a great tip to use when we're trying to rehydrate, dry growing mix. Just be a little patient, plan ahead, gallon of water in a 2 cubic foot bag, and the next day, fluff it up, you're ready to go. It'll work really great for you. Trust me on that. I've done that for 30 years. That's the way to do it. Okay, so Monica, I'm near Hattiesburg and I'm about to build a greenhouse. Do you think a grow light will be enough, or will I need a heater as well for our winters here? Okay, the question, Monica, is what do you want to grow in that greenhouse in our winters here in South Mississippi? I mean, do you want flowering plants? Do you want to grow tomatoes? Or you just want to keep plants so they don't die over the winter, and then bring them outside again in the springtime when it starts to warm up? I think a greenhouse is fantastic, but you have to kind of think about what's the ultimate goal for that. And it also depends what kind of greenhouse that you're going to put up. If you're going to do pardon me, I got an itch in my eye there. If you're going to do a greenhouse that's just a single layer of plastic, we call those high tunnels. They are not very energy efficient. If you're going to put heat into it, it's going to immediately dissipate into the atmosphere. If you're going to do, okay, Monica, so to keep plants, so just keep them alive over the wintertime, right? I'm guessing. That would be that's going to be tough. You probably would want to use some kind of heater. Grow lights will not work. They will not produce enough heat for what you want to do, depending on the size of Are you doing one of these like 4x6s or 8x10s, the kits that are out there, or is it going to be a bigger house? You're gonna want to, I think, be able to provide some heat, and it could be just a space heater. On those really cold nights that we will get here. Most of the nights that we get with if you have a um, a high tunnel, probably won't need a heat source, except for when we get down into those low 30s. The, if you want, here I'm just shooting from the hip here. If you want some more information, Monica, send me an email to southerngardening@msstate.edu, and I'll give you some more information. I'll give you a more coherent explanation. How about that? If that works, and then we can discuss that and get you on the right track. Okay, so Nancy, let's see here. Fall of 2020, I planted 5 dozen King Alfred daffodils in a bed I see from my kitchen window. Spring 2021 was a glorious view. Overplanted the bed with coleus. This year, little foliage came up and no blooms. Guess the leaves were not allowed to synthesize. Can these bulbs be saved, or should I replant in October? Probably, Nancy, I'll bet you had those daffodils out there. And daffodils in Mississippi should be no problem. Now it depends. Let me know, where are you located at? Because if you're down here in South Mississippi, I'm going to say most of the time the daffs are okay. North Mississippi, it's really not a problem. But if you had those daffodils, and King Alfred's a fantastic big yellow daffodil, and then you put coleus in on top of that, it's very possible that coleus shaded out that daffodil foliage that's needed to replenish the energy in that bulb. I'm just in Clinton. Yeah, you should. Yeah, Nancy, in Clinton, you shouldn't have any issues with daffodils. I would really bet that those coleus overshadowed the daffodils and what they were doing. Here's the thing. Go out there and see if you can find the bulbs. If you can find the bulbs, go ahead and replant those into an area that's more full sun. You may not get a flower this spring, but chances are you're going to get the foliage. Let that foliage grow, let that replenish the bulb, and I'll bet in 2024 you're going to have some nice daffodils again. So this is one of these times. Be a little patient, try it. Now, here's also the thing. If you want to hedge your bets, go ahead, find those bulbs out of the coleus bed, move them, buy some more daffodils, plant them in October, so you'll have the daffodils in 2023. And chances are you're going to have really good daffodils in 2024. So that would probably be the way I would go. I'd go ahead and replant some more, take the chance that those other ones are going to grow again and give you more bang for your buck. So that's what I would do. Okay. So Carolyn, what is the best fertilizer for tomatoes in zone 8? Question is, are you growing the tomatoes in containers, or are you growing them in the ground? And that the answer might not even make a difference either way. One of the best fertilizers I like to use for tomatoes is Miracle-Gro. I am a Miracle-Gro fan. I really don't worry about, people will look at the NPK content. I really wouldn't worry about that. As far as making the tomatoes grow more leaves on tomatoes. If you were to fertilize tomatoes let's just say every 2 weeks with Miracle-Gro as you water, you would be fine, and the tomatoes would love you for it. So that's what I would do. So Dean, we pruned our hydrangea early in the spring and have had good growth but no flowers. What happened? Okay, here's the $1,000 or the $1 million question, Dean. The hydrangeas that you were growing, were they the French hydrangeas, the macrophylla, that bloom first thing in the spring, or are they the hydrangeas like the paniculatas that bloom later into the midsummer, into the fall season? And I say that because if it's the French or the macrophylla hydrangea, the flower buds on those are being formed right now for 2023. So if you go ahead and prune between now and or wait until next spring to prune those hydrangeas, you prune the flowers off. They'll grow leaves like crazy and they'll look good, but because the flowers are produced like azaleas the previous year, if you prune at the wrong time, you can remove those flower buds. The paniculata types, like Bobo, Quickfire, the green. Oh, it was a Mississippi medallion winner. Anyways, the paniculata types all bloom on new growth. So you can prune those in the springtime. It produces new growth. The flower buds are formed out on that new growth. So that's really the question that needs to be asked. Really, what kind do you have? And is it just a matter of pruning in the wrong season? So, okay. So, Meg, I know you're talking about fall gardening today, and you want to know something, Meg? We haven't even gotten to fall gardening today, so you're fine with that. Okay, I have a quick pepper question, and Meg knows that I am the guy to ask about peppers. So I have 7 Pequina, and I butcher the names. Pequino peppers. They're the little bird beak peppers from Brazil. They're really cute. They're really tasty. Reds and yellows. They're really fantastic. Uh, and early in the season, their leaves were puckering and wilting and wrinkling really bad. But the newer leaves are fine now. What happened? Early in the season, now, did you plant those? Did you start them from seed or did you buy transplants? It's one question. If you started from seed and planted those a little too early, that could be the reason too. Peppers, and here's the thing. We get into this mode of when we're planting in the springtime, we've got to get our tomatoes in as soon as we can. And here in South Mississippi, that's our frost date that I always shoot for is April 5th. So April 5th, I'm putting tomatoes in. If we put peppers in at the same time, they're both warm season vegetables, right? What happens is the temperatures in our pots or the temperatures in the soils are fine for tomatoes. The peppers, though, want it a little warmer. So what I've found is if I delay transplanting peppers into my garden, I think we talked about this earlier. If we delay transplanting peppers in my garden, how I do it is mid-May. So I wait a month, let everything heat up a little bit, and the peppers all are fine, take off just fine. I did a little experiment one year where I planted the peppers with the tomatoes, and then I planted a set of peppers a month later. And you want to know something? The early tomato or the early peppers and the late peppers all produce fruit at the same time. So I have learned I'm going to delay a little bit on the peppers, get them in the ground later. I think here in Mississippi, they produce better after 4th of July anyways. So why rush it? Why put more pressure on getting everything into the garden when you really don't have to? So that's what I bet. I bet they were just put in too early, Meg. Okay, let's see. I live in Long Beach, and every time I plant cornflower, they die and just won't grow for me. Okay, now I have to put my thinking cap on cornflower. I'm seeing that in my mind. I'm trying to think of the botanical name for it. Um, really doesn't make any difference. I think that cornflower we're a little too far south to grow it. Yeah, I think that's more of a mid-Mississippi, North Mississippi flower to be successful. So if you want, I'll tell you, Deborah, send me email, southerngardening@mstate.edu. and I'll answer that more, let's say, more authoritatively. How about that? That and I'll look that up for you, and I'll give you an answer on that. Okay, so Dean's asking, what is the best way to drill holes in fancy ceramic pots? You know, well, you want to know something? That's a great question. And I kind of talked about that on a daily dose earlier here in the week, where we were planting that Cajun hibiscus in that frog pot. And luckily that had a hole in it. Most of our fancy ceramic pots do have drainage holes in them. Some don't. And if you don't have a drainage hole in these pots, you end up putting plants in, it becomes a soup bowl, and then I get questions, why did my plant die? So you need to look at holes in pots. For the fancy ceramic, you really need to have a diamond bit. And it takes patience, and you have to go slow, and you have to irrigate that bit. You have to cool it down so it doesn't crack the ceramic. It's just not like drilling into a 2x4. You have to go slow and work that in and drill that hole. And you want to know something? It makes me crazy because some of these ceramic pots are $30, $40, $50. And I just hate to think that I'm going to hurry and I'm going to break one of those pots. So that's always the consideration. If you see a big fancy ceramic pot that you like and it doesn't have a hole in it, yeah, you could drill a hole in it. I would probably look for another one that does already have that drainage hole, unless you're just going to put it's inside the house and do some kind of a dry arrangement in it. But that's something else. Yeah, it's a diamond drill, slow, keep the drill cool, and keep your fingers crossed. That's my advice on fancy ceramic pots. Okay, so Marilyn, hey Marilyn, it's good to see you here. My squash and cuke plants in earth boxes keep getting powdery mildew every year, even when given lots of space. I saw your beautiful 5-foot vines with not a touch on them. What am I doing wrong? Well, last couple years we have grown cucumbers, and we haven't had much powdery mildew. I tell you the truth, I don't know if we're doing anything special. I don't use any fungicides. I do trellis the plants up. So I have the earth box trellises, and so I grow the cucumbers vertically so they're not on the ground, so there's good airflow. I think it's just a matter of luck. As far as squash, I don't grow squash. I've given up trying to grow squash. I have way too many issues with vine borer that it's just not worth my time trying to get away from that. I know too many people that are growing, squash themselves, so I usually go to them. But I would just say that it's just a matter of luck. Probably this next year now, I'm probably going to have powdery mildew problem, and I'll have some better information for you. Okay, so Ann, can you plant potatoes in South Mississippi? Yes, but not now. You have to wait for potatoes until after first of the year, towards end of January, even into February. When we look at getting seed potatoes here, that's when they're going to show up at the garden centers and at the I always buy 5-pound bags at Tractor Supply. They always have the blues and the reds, and the Yukon Golds, which is I like to grow, and I grow them in containers. I think that's a better way to go, better drainage here in South Mississippi than trying to plant them in the ground. But yes, you can. It's just an after first of the year. We just have to wait here, where other folks can do it now. Now, Nancy, where do you buy your potting mix? Okay, let me go ahead and let me change the camera here a little bit. Um, the Jolly Gardener mix, and really any of the professional growing mixes like Jolly Gardener or Metro Mix or Pro Mix or Sunshine, Sungrow, you can get at the independent garden centers, not the big box stores. They're not going to carry that. But you go to your independents, they will have a version of a professional mix that you can use. I also like to use, and I like Tiger Grow because we have some connections here down south. Our friends over at LSU developed Tiger Grow as a container mix, and our friends at Philip Spark in Brookhaven, Mississippi, mix it. So I like to use a local product, just like local vegetables. Why not a local garden mix? Um, the Tiger Grow is a good mix for containers. I like it in the big containers. They also make Garden Grow, which is a raised bed mix, which is fantastic. I use that. I'll tell you the truth. I use that in containers too. I like that mix. So that's where you need to go. You need to go to the independent garden centers. If you do end up going to the box stores, the one mix that you can buy at the box stores that I would recommend is, believe it or not, is a Miracle Grow product, but it's the moisture control product. It's in the blue and black bag, and it's a mix of sphagnum peat, which is good, and it's a mix of core fiber, the coconut fiber, which is good. It really is a equivalent to a professional growing mix. That would always be my second choice. But if you're going to go to the box store, that would be one that you would have pretty good success with. The Miracle Grow in the green and yellow bag, and sorry, Miracle Grow, that's really like a lumber yard in a bag. You can find all kinds of stuff in there. I don't think it works as good. That's just personal opinion. That's 30 plus years experience saying there. Okay, so what do we got here? Okay, EFPC. For the first time, I grew several varieties of hardy hibiscus this year. Good for you. I love that every blossom. Was thrilled to get the seed pods. If you've got some seed pods, hang on to those. But then all the plants stop producing blossoms. How do I keep the blossoms growing? I'm in Hattiesburg. Thanks, Lisa. Okay, Lisa. One of the things about the hardy hibiscus is they'll start blooming for us. And here I'm in Ocean Springs. They started blooming. Oh, I'm going to say, I'm trying to think when I started posting pictures, mid-May, I think. And mine are still blooming. It's one of these plants that they're going to bloom, bloom, and bloom until they're not. Okay, so there's I don't really think there's a cultural method. I really, to tell you the truth, I haven't tried it. I haven't tried cutting them back to see if I can force new blossoms, because right now, let's see, mid-May, okay, mid-June, mid-July, mid-August. They've been blooming now for 3 months, and they're still blooming. I don't have any complaints. But I will tell you, if you're getting seed pods, and a couple in 2020, terrible year for everybody, but I got my first seed pods that year off of one of my hardy hibiscus, and I germinated those, and I got 5 plants off of that. And here's the cool thing. Yeah, I got 5 plants off one of my hardy hibiscus. They've never been seen before because of the genetics are all mixed up. So I've got 5 unique plants from 2020. One of my rows of Sharons last year produced seeds. I've got 15 of those. I can hardly wait to see those bloom. But it's a fun thing to do. Collect those seeds, grow them. You're making new plants. Don't think you're going to make any money on it. I have no illusions of making any money on these plants, but I'm growing plants that are Gary Bachman plants. That's the cool part. And everybody can do that by saving those seeds. So I kind of got off on a tangent there. If you want more information, Lisa, on those hardy hibiscus, send me the email. You know what it is, southerngardening@msstate.edu. Okay, so Facebook user, you are welcome. Let's see here. Let's see, and Diane, thanks for the heads up on watering potting mix. Fantastic. And Roxanne, love your tips. You all have a great weekend. I'm going to get after my weeds this weekend. Thanks for sharing. Hey, Roxanne, look, you are welcome to join us here anytime, my friend. Okay. Okay, Nancy and Clinton. Okay, can I winterize my coleus? Maybe in a basement window. Good question. Depends how big it is. And if it's in a pot, I probably wouldn't put it in a basement window. I'd probably put it in a window inside the house that gets indirect light and keep it growing through the wintertime. And then we get into like the February time frame. I'd probably clip some ends of the branches off, 4-6 inches, pop them in a glass of water, coleus will reroot, pot those up, and you're good to go for the next year. That would probably be the way I would go with that. Yeah, Nancy, hey, you're welcome. Patience. Hey, look, we all get impatient in the garden, and you can ask Kate. I am the most impatient gardener in the world, but there are just times we just got to step back, take a deep breath, and let things happen. Yeah. Okay. So Carolyn, you got the. Okay, I lost where we were. What were we talking about, Carolyn? Was that the coleus? Anyways, let me know where. What's the best time for us? I'm sorry. In the ground, yeah. The Miracle Grow is fine for the tomatoes in the ground. Oh, and Sylvia has saved my bacon here. Limelight hydrangeas that I couldn't remember, 15 minutes ago. I just bought 3 limelights, paniculatas. There are no blooms on them now. Will they have time to bloom again this year? 1 was bought locally, greenish blooms, 2 were mail ordered. All look healthy. It's going to be a little late this year for the blooms. Don't worry about that. Pot them up in the pots or put them in the ground now. Take care of them, and next year the limelights will be fantastic for you. Okay, Meg from Seed. Meg, I just think that you had your peppers, got those in the ground a little too early. That's all I think. Okay, so Dean, when should Jasmine be trimmed or pruned? I don't want to lose the flowering next year. Oh boy, that's now I have to go back into the Wayback Machine on that to whether the Jasmine is blooms on new growth or blooms on old growth. To be safe, I would wait until after they bloom next year. I'd hate to tell you to prune them now and then you have not any blooms and then you're going to be mad at me. So let's just play it safe. Unless I'll look this up for you. Unless I find that we can go ahead and prune the Jasmine now. But let me look that up, and I'll get back to you. Okay, let's see. We had 3 inches of rain yesterday, and my wife says she needs to empty her pots out. I need more information, Dean. Let's see. Now, Meg, can I cut back okra to stimulate more production? Plus, they're getting pretty tall. Oh yeah. That reminds me, Meg. I need to repost a video from our friend Eddie Martin down in Louisiana about pruning back okra. I'm going to do that today. Absolutely. Cut those things back in half. You're going to need loppers for it or a saw. It will push new growth. We have plenty of time here this fall to get more okra at a manageable height. Not that you're picking way above your head. You can be picking eye level. Makes it much easier. Yes. Oh, and so with that, we've been going 50 minutes. Unless we don't get any other questions, my question has to do with no holes. Yes, Dean, empty those pots out because those are soup bowls right now. I want to play a little game with everybody. Now, and I probably should have brought this up at the beginning, but Ellen thought of this when we chatted before, and I forgot all about it. But and there's no prizes here or anything, but just in the comments, just play a little bit of an I Spy game, and just does anybody see anything in the background that really is just out of place? So I Spy, whatever that saying is, put that in your comments. We'll have some fun with it, and we'll go from there. So with that, if anybody does have any questions that I didn't address today, the email is southerngardening@msstate.edu. Send me those. I'll get back to them. I'm going to go through Linda's already got one. Got a dinosaur in there. Yep. We were at Dollar Tree yesterday, and I had to pick up some little dinosaurs to put out. But I'll go through the comments, and if I see anything that comes up with I need to address a little more, I'll get in touch with you. And thanks, for joining us here on our monthly little get together, our quick little question answer. We have a lot of fun with it, and so hey, everybody have a great weekend. Get out in the garden, and we'll see you next month for another Southern Gardening Facebook Live. Ask Me Anything. See you guys.